This movie is like a wannabe Saw, but I don't think it's terrible. Let's do it. Betrayal is about this group of 4 friends that is on a trip. 2 of them are Nick and Taylor, who are a couple, and the other 2 are Tony and Kai, who are also a couple, and Taylor tells Kai that she's pregnant, but she doesn't know when to tell Nick. As they're driving one night, they stop at a gas station where they see this hitchhiker, Diane, asking for a ride, and Nick, for some reason, agrees to it, even though Taylor is hesitant. So they drive Diane home, and when they get there, she offers to give the girls these, beauty samples, and when she comes back, she gasses them, and they pass out. When the 4 of them wake up, they find themselves in a house strapped to chairs with a bunch of other strangers. One of these strangers, Greg, goes up to Kai and just rips one of her fingernails out. So of course everybody starts screaming and arguing. Eventually the 4 of them get out of the chairs that they're tied to and they all start talking about what the fuck is going on. And the rest of the group makes the 4 of them watch this video of this woman. And they notice they all have these gadgets attached to the back of their necks and their spines. And this woman in this video tells them that these gadgets are designed to collect this chemical from them. And the only way they can get this certain chemical is by causing pain. And this meter shows up and she tells them that they have 24 hours to make this meter reach 100%, and that's the only way they're going to get out of this house. Because they're completely locked in this house, and if they don't do that within 24 hours, then the gadgets on the back of their necks are going to kill them. And also, the moment you start torturing somebody is when the timer starts. So because Greg pulled Kai's fingernail out, the timer has started. Now there's one guy, Julian, who thinks that this is total bullshit, so he goes to pull the thing out of his neck and immediately drops dead. So the rest of them decide that there is really no other option out of this other than doing what she said. And they decided they are each going to have to take turns torturing each other to get that meter to 100%. And they all decide that the asshole Greg is going to go first. Some of them are suspicious of him because they think that he knows more than he's letting on. And he basically tells them, I will personally torture every single one of you if it means that I get home to my son. I'm fucking getting out of here. So the group agrees on the plan and all agrees that Greg is going to go first, and they tie him down and start torturing him. Now, one of the other women in the house, Tara, is especially brutal. And she ends up breaking Greg's leg with a drill. And because of the amount of pain they've all caused him at once, he goes unconscious and becomes comatose. So the rest of the group sees this and is okay, I guess that was a little too much. So now they decide that they're going to take turns and they're only going to torture each other for 6% of the meter at a time. So they'll do 6% to you and then go through everybody else and then do 6% to you again, and that should get us all to 100. So they randomly select numbers and they do it. And the first person is Sam. They tie him down and burn him with an iron and rip his fingernails out. There's a lot of fingernail shit in this movie. And then Tony goes and then Nick goes. And when it comes to be Taylor's turn, she reveals that she is pregnant. Now at this point, she's also realized that she has painkillers in her shoe that Kai had given her earlier, and she had slipped some to Nick before his turn. But this caused the meter to go up way slower and them have to torture him way more to get to that 6% because he couldn't really feel anything. So Nick offers to go for Taylor, but they're you can't, your meter's not going up high enough, we'll accidentally kill you. So while they're trying to figure out who's going to step in for Taylor, this girl Lisa is next, but she gets so scared she runs away and tries to hide. But there's no fucking hiding here. They literally drag her out and torture her anyway to get to her 6%. So at this point, Greg has come to, and the group had already discussed that they wanted to leave him here when they were able to get out because he was unconscious and was not going to be able to fend for himself. Tara during this is just a terrible, awful bitch as she has been the whole movie, and Tony comes up and just straight up punches her in the face and knocks her out to shut her up finally. And then Tony and Kai decide that they are going to help Taylor get to her 6%. So the 3 of them at the same time decide to stick their arms in a pot of boiling water. But when they go to do it, Kai chickens out, so Tony keeps his arm in for longer. When all of a sudden, Tara, who has regained consciousness, comes in with a fucking knife and tries to stab Tony to death. And this causes him to drop the pot of boiling water all over himself and fall in it. Tara manages to stab Tony in the shoulder and is going to stab him again before Nick punches her out a second time. And when Tara wakes up, we see that it's her turn. However, the group tells her, we're gonna get you to a little more than 6%. Basically, this is where being a raging bitch gets you. So she, of course, tries to apologize and redeem herself. And at one point, she's able to break one of her hands free and grab a knife, and she slashes, and when she does, she slits Kai's throat, and Kai bleeds out and dies. So Tony literally holds his girlfriend as she dies in his arms, and completely enraged goes back to the table where the others have managed to retie Tara. And he's like, I'm gonna take care of this. Does anybody have a fucking problem with that? And everybody's like, nope, do your thing, my guy. So he proceeds to torture her until the meter gets to 80%. So she did over 30%. So then the remaining ones who are still alive and conscious decide they're going to finish the meter by breaking each other's collarbones. And it works. They do it. The meter gets to 100%. And as it does, they get another video from the woman at the beginning again, congratulating them on getting it done. And she instructs them that there is this gadget near the door and you are going to put your devices into that gadget. And then it is going to allow the door to open for one person for them to escape. So everybody goes. Sam, Lisa, they send Tara's unconscious body out. They send Kai's body out. Tony goes out, and then Nick and Taylor go back to get Greg. But then all of a sudden, Nick hears Tony yelling for him on the other side of the wall. So Taylor tells Nick to go and says that she's going to get Greg and bring him out. And when Nick gets to the other side, he sees that Sam has attacked and killed everybody. So Nick proceeds to follow Sam to another room where Sam then removes the gadget from the back of his neck. Back in the house, Greg confesses to Taylor that everybody was right and he did know more than he let on. And he explains how he knows about this cult that has orchestrated this whole thing. And basically, this cult believes that everybody needs to experience pain and agony. Greg dies, leaving Taylor alone, and all of a sudden she looks up at the meter and sees that it's back at 80-something%, which happened when Sam removed his gadget because that took away the percentage that he got. So Taylor, now completely desperate, understands that the only way to get out of this is by torturing herself again. And she proceeds to do it. She pours bleach in her wounds. She smashes her hand in a cupboard. Meanwhile, Nick is confronting Sam why the fuck are you doing this? And Sam explains that he believes that everybody needs to experience pain to be cleansed and become innocent. And then Sam activates this device that causes poison to go into all of them through the gadgets in their neck. But he tells them you're gonna have 10 minutes, this thing is slow acting. Slow acting poison, very Jigsaw of you. At this point though, Nick has had enough and he attacks Sam. A struggle ensues between the two of them, but ultimately Nick is able to kill Sam with a screwdriver. And then he finds this bottle of pills that he takes which counteracts the poison, so Nick is safe. Nick finds everybody else who is barely clinging on to life dead, and he's unable to get to Taylor and she dies. So Nick leaves alone, being the sole survivor. Sometime later, we flash forward and we see Nick sitting in a diner, and he looks out the window and spots Diane, the hitchhiking bitch that got them into this in the fucking first place. He proceeds to follow her as she is trying to find more victims to put into this experiment, and he knocks her unconscious and throws her into the trunk of his car, and the movie ends.